I'll ask you guys, what is the single most exciting thing about this meet to you, 2022? Is it the Valby versus Tuohy showdown? Is it the men's race on the team side wide open? Is it something else? What's getting you excited about this meet, Robert?
Well, without a doubt, it's Valby Tuohy for me. Who wins the NCAA women's title? Because first of all, when you're watching on TV, that's what you see. So for the average person at home, that's easy to follow. And these are two both, American, born and raised, super talents. And it's just they have like passionate fans, it seems like on the forums. Some Tuohy's been there since eighth or ninth grade, and was she gonna be another flame out? No, she looks amazing. Valby barely runs. What's going on there? But she's incredibly good, and she just goes hard from the gun. And now there's this scandal of, is Tuohy injured? Which one sleuths or people watching on the internet saw her grab her left hamstring. I mean, how can we analyze this race, John? Have you reached out to the coach yet? Have we talked to Katelyn Tuohy? Because I'm not discounting that. I think something is wrong with her hamstring.
Coaches are famously reluctant to really share a lot of detail on injuries like this, but I am scheduled to talk to Lori Hennis, the NC State coach, later this afternoon after this podcast records. So we'll have an update based on whatever she says when we publish our women's preview. That is one of the things I plan on asking her about. But yeah, this is the thing I'm most excited about as well, Robert, because right now they've both been crushing competition all season long. Valby's running these ridiculous times, 18:25. Okay, it's a cross country time. I don't try not to read too much into it. That's a 6K time, but I can't remember seeing a 6K time that fast. I've been told by multiple people that course is accurate or even a little long at Ole Miss where she ran it. So but the big thing for me is she's just blowing away really good runners. So that to me is more impressive than these crazy times she's running. But Katelyn Tuohy has also looked totally under control. I don't think she's gotten out of about third gear in any of her races this year. So not just the form that they're in, but these could be two of the women who are leading the way for the United States for the next 10 years on the professional scene. Would it be a shock to see either of these women in the next Olympics or in 2028 in LA? By that time, I think they could be the top two distance women in the country. So for them to go head to head as collegians on a tough course with a national title on the line, yeah, that is going to be fantastic to watch. If you're a fan of American distance running, you need to watch this race on Saturday morning with Tuohy versus Valby.
Yeah, I mean, in New York a few weeks ago, Jenny Simpson told you, right? She expects them to break 15 minutes.
I did. I asked her, because this was your theory, Robert. You made a bold prediction. You said we're going to see the first NCAA woman break 15 minutes either this winter or spring on the track for 5,000 meters. And I said Robert has this theory, and she said you're totally right. I expect that to go down as well. So Jenny Simpson has endorsed Robert Johnson. I told her that you'd be risking giving Robert a huge ego, but she was just like, "Well, I think it's probably going to happen." So you've got the Simpson endorsement, and she is the closest anyone's ever come. She ran 15:01 back in 2009 at University of Colorado.
Thanks for asking what I think about this, John. I'm pretty sure that was my prediction. Didn't I say someone was going to run sub 1450 this year?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Robert brainwashed me. I seem to remember Robert making the prediction of sub 15.
All right, we'll roll the tape. But for me at NCAs, for sure. Valby versus Tuohy. That's the heavyweight matchup. It's simple. I mean, there's other people who could win this thing. But public at large, the discussion on Let's Run, I don't think I've seen a matchup, or I can't think of a matchup this anticipated on the female side in a long time.
So I talked to Dave Smith about this, the Oklahoma State coach. I said, when's the last time you can remember a matchup like this? He said 2009, Susan Kaiken against Jenny Simpson, then Jenny Barringer. Both of these women were absolute stars. Jenny had run 3:59 for 1500 earlier that spring. It was expected to be a big time showdown. They were up front at the start, and then both of those women totally imploded, and unheralded Angela Bizzari came in and took away the victory. So Dave did mention to me, he's like, look, people hype up these head-to-head showdowns. Anything can happen in NCAA cross country. That's a lot of pressure to put on women. A 20-year-old woman. It's supposed to be you versus this one other person, and we've seen it before. 2016 was another example. Not quite as much attention, but Aaron Finn and Anna Aurora, they were the ones sort of battling up top. And then who comes in? Carissa Schweizer runs them both down and kicks to the victory in Terre Haute. So I'm not totally discounting someone else. I know Robert, his dark horse is Kaylee McCabe. Not really a dark horse. She finished third last year, but she's someone I could see. These, Tuohy and Valby, they're just focused on each other. She comes in and outkicks both of them. I wouldn't be totally shocked. I think it probably will be Valby and Tuohy 1-2-1 in some order, but we do have to remember there are 253 other women in this race. We shouldn't totally forget about them.
So who do you guys like? I mean, I think initially a couple weeks ago I was going back and forth, and then I said, well, it makes sense to me, Valby. She barely runs. She will have improved more. But I would normally say, I think over the last 2 weeks, I changed my mind and said Tuohy. Like, Tuohy won last year on the track. She's been having an amazing season, blowing people away. She actually beat Chelengott of Alabama by more than Valby did, all in the last 1K. So I was kind of thinking, like, how do you break her? She's going to stay close enough and then outkick her because she's got better speed. But now with the hamstring injury, and we don't know if it's an injury, but that's enough doubt for me that if I was betting, I'd put the money on Valby. And I think Valby's got to just go early and break her. Now, you talked about a past NCAAs. I do remember another past NCAAs where somebody was broken early and they ended up winning it. This was on the men's side. Edward Cheserek was beaten, I think, by Kennedy Kathuka. Was that who it was, John? He was viewed as unstoppable. Breaks open, and you're like, wait, he's not putting more gap on the field. Oh, he's coming back to the field. And then Cheserek won. So I can see that happening here because Valby, was it at the regional meet, John? Or was it at the conference meet when she got way ahead of Chell and got early? But she didn't keep putting more distance on. It stayed about that 10-second range.
Yeah, that was the conference meet. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, if Tuohy doesn't give up, I think she could still run her down. But if you're not 100%, if your hamstring's hurting you, I think that's going to be tough. And if she is injured, I still think Tuohy could run a good enough race to not impact NC State too much in the team battle. She could finish 10th without going 100%. But winning an individual title, I think, is going to be tough.
Yeah, I'll cop out here, and I basically agree with your assessment there, Robert. If anything's up with Tuohy, I think that shifts it. That I would pick Valby. I gotta wait. I haven't made my official predictions yet. I think I would have to go with Valby though, just because they're so close that even that little bit of doubt about the status of her health would tip the scales in Valby's favor. But yeah, it should be really exciting. I think if it wasn't for that, I would have gone Tuohy based on how under control she looked. And I think the onus is going to be on Parker Valby to try and drop Katelyn Tuohy because she tried to drop her in NCAAs on the track last spring, couldn't do it. Tuohy closed and won. And Tuohy has been winning all of her races essentially by just sitting and kicking on people. I think she has a better kick than Parker Valby. If they're still together with about 200 meters to go, there's a big downhill coming into the finish. If they're still together, I'm picking Katelyn Tuohy every time. So I think that Valby is going to have to sort of make this race. And the other thing that's an unknown here is the course is very tough. The last time NCAAs was on this course was 2 years ago. The winning time was over 20 minutes for 6K. So it's a very difficult course to run. We haven't seen Parker Valby run on hills basically ever. She went to high school in Florida, one of the flattest states in the union. She runs at the University of Florida. As far as I can tell, she's never run on a cross-country course with that anyone would describe hilly. So how does she handle that? Is she going to be able to pull away? This is a rhythm-breaking course. There's a lot of uphills and downhills. Is she going to be able to perform and do her usual strategy, or is that going to throw a wrench into it? So I'm curious to see how she reacts.
Earlier, Robert was suggesting Grant Fisher might be a little soft as a runner. Katelyn Tuohy's not. I think of her as tough. She's tested. She's from the Northeast. Wait, Grant Fisher's from Michigan, though. You're not soft if you grew up running in Michigan. But apart from that, yeah, the fact is, there's a lot of question marks, right, about Valby. The fact it's not a pancake flat course to me raises a lot of question marks. She likes to front run. You can get in trouble that way, the more difficult the course. So I think I would probably, if the more I thought about it, kind of sided with Tuohy. She's been through the ringer. I mean, she was the greatest high school cross country runner ever. Would you say, John? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, totally.
And then kind of COVID or final year saw the decline that a lot of young women go through. And the question is her career going to go maybe more the direction of Mary Kane? And now she's back. I think that resiliency will help her here. But Parker Valby could be like just this total sensation. I mean, this woman who doesn't run that many miles per week, been injured. You know, she's really good in high school, but like not Katelyn Tuohy good. And to top it off, the whole crazy thing is like neither one of these women has finished higher than 15th at NCAAs in cross country. Like that's a sort of fascinating angle on this, right? Like as good as they are, Tuohy was 15th last year. Valby was 26th, I think. And now we're talking like these, no one else can beat them. So I think, as you pointed out, some examples in the past, I expect one of them to win, but I don't know. Could be a Jenny Simpson. You go out hard. There's so much pressure on these two people. The course affects them both. The third person wins it.
Yeah, and actually, Weldon, hearing you talk about that and me saying the course stuff, I think I'm gonna reverse and go back with Tuohy. I picked Tuohy before the season. I think it's gonna be hard to drop someone in this course. We did see Connor Mance do it in the men's race in 2020, but he was kind of like I think Wesley Kiptoo was kind of the Valby in that role, that race, and Kiptoo couldn't drop them all. He ended up tiring himself out. It was 4 extra kilometers compared to the women, but yeah, I think now I'm on Tuohy right now, but who knows? By the time I make my official picks, I might be back on Valby. This is what makes this thing so great.
Well, I agree because the whole hills threw me for a loop there. I thought about it. I'm like, oh my God, she's never run on hills. And I wasn't good at hills. We grew up in Dallas, which is flat. Like that would totally throw me off to have huge hills in this race.
Robert has now compared himself to Grant Fisher and Parker
Yes.
Valby, just for the record.
What do you mean? You hear the NFL guys talk about their experience when they're analyzing the game. I'm talking about my experience. It doesn't matter if you're like a 13-minute guy or a 16-minute guy. It's still the same in your head. Like when I go out and run now and I'm trying to break, like close it off with a sub 6 for a tempo. I mean, a sub 7.
Robert,
excuse
wait,
me.
when was the last time you ran a sub
A
6?
sub 7 for the last mile of like a tempo, all out race effort. It feels the same. It's the same mindset as my head as when I was training at a semi-elite level. But yeah, 2 is tough. Now, by the way, the Fisher stuff I'm saying about him being a pretty boy and soft isn't probably fair at all, but that's just the perception. Stanford, he's such a nice guy, you know. But yeah, Tui was so good at cross country in high school. She's probably used to hills.
But there is the phantom injury, John. I mean, this injury gate got so much hype and publicity on the website this weekend, and I've now received. Well, it's not anonymous. The person isn't hiding who they are. I'm not going to say their name. Let's see. This email first came in Sunday night. I apologize for not replying right away. I have info on Katelyn Tuohy's left hamstring. Then person then wrote again yesterday saying, "Would you like to hear?" Then they added, "Would you like to hear about it?" I have written back, "Yes." So maybe during this podcast, we will hear the secret info on the hamstring. But like, this thing's got it all. You need a little intrigue. This is what the sport needs. Like, one superstar who we've heard about for years, the up and comer. There was already a lot of talk, like, oh, the front runner versus the kicker. Throw an injury now, a difficult course, intrigue. Like, oh, none of them actually ever done well at this race before. It's great.
I agree with you, Weldon. It adds to the intrigue, and that's why we love this race. And look, we complain the regular season, nothing really matters in cross country. Valby and Tuohy didn't race at all in the cross country regular season, but that's what makes this meet so great, is because there are all these uncertainties heading into the biggest meet of the year. And I do want to say, just for the record, this whole Tuohy injury talk, she did finish this race and won the Southeast Regional. So I don't know if it's gotten worse or anything since then, but it wasn't bad enough for her to stop running, and it wasn't bad enough for her to lose the race. So she still won this race, even if she got an quote unquote injury midway through.
By the way, have I said that I suffer from a long-term left hamstring injury, John? Just to make it more about myself. No, but the injury may make it tough to do the hills. So it'll be interesting. All right, is that enough NCAA cross country talk? Can I talk?
No, breaking siren. Get the sirens going. Get the sirens going. John, I don't know if this is proper journalism. You can determine if we scratch this segment. The person has emailed back with an update on Katelyn Tuohy. I have no idea who this person is, so I'll just keep them anonymous. John, you decide if we keep this in there.
Does this person have any insight to the program? What's that claim to know about NC State?
They did not state credentials or anything.
Okay. They emailed Weldon to make this clear. They emailed Weldon to me, and then we'd of course pull off our emails. And then we finally responded, and they had not written back when he brought up the story earlier, but they have written back now.
They said, yeah, Katelyn tweaked it in practice, and women's coach Lori Hinnis has been working with Katelyn and their trainer to get Katelyn back to 100%. She has stayed away from things like fast strides or mile pace workouts, but longer, slower work and races are fine. Sounds pretty detailed, John. Someone just make that up?
I mean, someone could have just made it up. This is a guy on the internet. Now, if it's one of our readers and he's telling the truth,
well, John assumed it's a man. Guy, I think, denies sex. Based on the name, I'm assuming it's a woman.
Okay, it could be a woman on the internet. I'm sorry for leaping to conclusions. It could be a very helpful listener who actually knows exactly what's going on and is trying to help us, or it could be someone completely talking out of their ass. That's the thing, Robert. That's the thing, Weldon. We don't totally know. So I'm going to take that piece of information with a grain of salt. But if you want to share it with the readers with that context, fine.
I think this is great. Just hot takes from random people. I will write back and find out the credentials of this person.
Generally, I prefer to have more information about our sources before we run with something, but I feel like our podcast is a little bit more relaxed than, our written work. So
we said full disclosure what it is. It's just people talking. It's like, out in a run.
Robert, is there something you'd like to share? You just keep pointing your phone at us. Oh.
Well, I wanted to play the breaking news sound.
I feel like we need to have a different siren for something breaking rumor like this. I don't know if we call this news.
I spent hundreds of dollars on a device that could play all my sounds, but I only figured out how to work it that 1 week, and then I forgot how to do it. Now I can't figure out how to hook it up again.
All right. We'll have more from Oklahoma later this week. Maybe a live show on the morning of the race on Saturday, or it might be just from the course on Friday. We'll keep you posted on that. It'll be for our Supporters Club members. We'll try to go live as well. Let'sRun.com/subscribe if you're not a Supporters Club member and you want to join. But yeah, hopefully it'll be me and Robert, and we'll have insight from coaches and from the athletes. We'll give you the scoop on the course, all that good stuff.